All right, hello everyone. Today I have Tia Dowdle with me. Tia is the only mom I know who has been successful in leveraging her skills and talents into a home baking business. And I bet there are quite a few girls out there who love to bake and would love to hear more about Tia's journey and how she found success running a business while being an amazing mom to her three children. So, welcome, Tia.
Thanks.
So go ahead and just tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you got into home baking.
Well, when I had my first daughter forever ago, of course, thought about what we all think about as a mom, what we're going to do for their, first birthday party. I don't know, maybe that was just me, but that was like a huge deal, and what her cake would look like. And I never even thought I would do it myself. It didn't even cross my mind. But as time went on, that's something I wanted to do. So I very simple little cake I did. Matter of fact, I have to joke and laugh. The first cake I ever did was for my husband, and it was our first his first birthday that we were together, married, and I made his cake. And his name is Robert. I literally left the E out of his name. So that's our joke today is that, oh, great cake decorator, can't even spell her own husband's name right. But anyways, so with that, I really just enjoyed knowing that I created that for my child, no matter how it looked in the end. They were so excited to see mom designing their cake. And then it brought back all these memories. And I remember I grew up in a really small town. And I remember standing in the bakery window. We had one bakery in town. And I remember as a little kid standing there just watching the big mixers going. And that was always so fun to me. I loved to go in there with my dad and sit at the counter and have, a pastry or something. So it brought back a lot of memories. I think it's kind of just been something that was instilled in me. So that's kind of what started it. And then I did my first wedding cake for my brother-in-law, and it just went from there. It just was crazy. I had calls like crazy coming in after that.
Perfect. So obviously you had a talent, or else you wouldn't have had all those calls coming in. So was it that first cake that helped you figure out that there was a great talent there, something that you had that maybe you didn't realize, or were you always kind of creative and kind of knew you had a niche for it?
To be honest, Chelsea, I had no idea I had a niche for it. Not at all. I really was not a very creative child, to be honest. I know that sounds funny, but I wasn't very creative. I didn't have that artsy side that really I had other siblings that had that. I did not have that. So I thought. I say that because really, after I did that first wedding cake and had so many people raving about it, I realized, oh, I do have a talent in this. And not only raving about how it looked, but the flavor. And I do love knowing how ingredients work. And I love putting things together. And that's something my mom always did. She had her two cafes when I was growing up. And I really was always interested in, the cooking part of that. So I think that it was a talent I had and didn't realize. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you make that first wedding cake, and then people are wanting you to start making them cakes. So at this point, how did you kind of transform this into a little bit of a business?
That was hard. So at first, I honestly, this is funny, but I didn't know how to. So what I did was I did it as a favor. Oh yeah, I'll do that for you. And it ended up being a favor. And so then I realized how much money I was spending doing all these favors. And it didn't take long. Within the year, I realized I couldn't do this many favors. And so then I started just calling around. That's the thing, asking questions, finding out how much it costs. Is it per serving? Is it per design? And I just started asking questions and quickly realized that this could be a great business while I stayed home with my kids. And so once I started asking questions and finding out kind of what the average rate is in our area, you can't be from Idaho and call New York and say, hey, what's the rate? Because it's very different. I called around local bakeries, local shops, and we didn't have a lot of them back then. but I was able to call stores and whatnot. And I got pricing. That was the first thing I had to do because I didn't know how to price a cake. And it still stayed very challenging because cakes changed over the years, but I was able to become and be competitive with others.
So was it mainly word of mouth? I know everything's changed. Like today, everything's online, people have
Right.
websites, and I'm just trying to like keep up with the times myself and figure all of this out. But was it strictly for you word of mouth, or did you have to go out and kind of hustle a little bit?
No, I'm not a hustler. If I had to hustle, I'll tell you what, I would have failed, bombed big time. I can hustle for anybody else. You've got a business you want, I'll hustle for you, but not for myself. So no, it was all word of mouth. I did it all word of mouth. As a matter of fact, about 10 years into the business, I had a gentleman approach me and say, hey, you've been really successful with your business, but can I put an ad in our phone book? That's when phone books were even a thing, right? In our phone book and see what happens because I need people to be able to give reviews of our product. So I said, sure, that's several $100s for the year. I'll do that. And it, free for me. And I did it. And I did have more people come in, but it wasn't the clientele that I was used to. It changed everything. It changed just the dynamics of it all. And so I just let them know. I did give them a great review because I had more business than I could handle, but I stuck with word of mouth. I got it. I did pull out of the phone book as quickly as possible, which was the 1 year, but word of mouth. And because it stays more personable. But if you're doing a job that you love, it's going to grow because it's
Right.
going to show through your work.
Right.
So
Perfect. And did you specialize in just desserts? At one time, I thought that you were even working like with the school district or something and providing treats. Maybe that was just on a volunteer basis, but what types of baked goods did you specialize in?
well, it really was. I always joke and say, anything sweet, you've got it. I can do it if it's sweet. But as far as the school district, it was volunteering. I do a lot of volunteer work, and the school district, I did make meals. I did, because I did grow up in that where my mom had the two cafes. So I did make meals on any of their occasions that they needed meals. Maybe it was just something as simple as their what parent teacher conference. They were staying late, just that kind of stuff. But so I made meals, but no, as far as the business goes, I stayed pretty much with cakes and pies and pastries, cookies, a lot of gingerbread houses through the holidays. That's mainly what I stayed with. So, and that's really, I specialized in cake designs. That was my specialty, but I did do about any dessert that was asked of me.
Okay. And was there anything that you had to do specifically in your home kitchen in order to run a business for it to be legal? Or were you okay just to go for it?
Well, originally I didn't even ask questions. I just went for it, right? Because I started out as favors. This is favors,
Right,
so
right.
um, and then it just boomed so quickly that I did go to the health department and ask what I needed to do. Well, the answer then was, now remember, this has been 25 years ago. The answer then was a separate kitchen from what you perform in every day with your daily duties. So when we moved homes, I did add a second kitchen, but then I quickly got rid of that because this sounds really bad, but the health department told me it wasn't necessary. So I kept it up long enough. I had my license and all of that, and they said it really isn't necessary. Well, today, just so you know, today it's not it is legal to do a home food business out of your kitchen. Yes, you don't have to have that. So, and I don't remember when they changed that. It's been several years ago. But at that point, anyways, I was pretty excited not to have a second kitchen and have to take up extra space on my property with that. So,
Oh, perfect. And I think that's great. And I think that's what most people want to hear, right?
right,
Like if
exactly.
they love to bake and think, maybe I could turn this into a business for myself so I can be home for my kids, they're probably thinking, oh, the last thing I want to do is build a whole nother kitchen or
Right.
have access to that. So I think that's great news.
Yes.
So every job, business situation, there's pros and cons. So what are your least favorite parts about the business?
My least favorite part. Well, Probably wear my hair in a ponytail every day. No, that really wasn't. That was a little bit of a con, I have to tell you, because I got a lot of flack from my hairdresser. But no fingernail polish by all means, no hair
Right.
down, anything like that. But no, that was just a minor thing. I think as I got older, honestly, I can say that it was the all-nighters, I call them, because there were some weeks where I always spent Friday, I'd start Friday morning and I finished Saturday night as far as an all-nighter goes.
Right.
But there were some weeks that I would start earlier in the week, depending on my workload. And there were times I would have 3 or 4 nights where I wouldn't get to sleep at all. So it was around the clock and that was really the hardest thing. On the other hand, I was young. I could do that. It didn't really faze me too much, but once I started getting a little bit older, I realized this can't keep up this way. And that's when you have to really think, though. And if I can give any advice about that, is that run your business, don't let it run you, because it's so hard to say no to people when you're a pleaser. So they call and ask for that extra order, and you're sure I can squeeze it in, knowing that that's another 2 or 3 hours you're not sleeping or whatever. And anyways, so I think that's the thing, is just being able to cut off the amount you do realistically and not be so worried about pleasing everybody.
Wow. So do you think that maybe was the least favorite part of your job, is those long hours and sleepless nights and just the extra strain of trying to run the business as well as be there for the kiddos?
It was the sleepless nights. Yeah. Of course it always adds something, but if you really think about working outside of your home with little kids and having to get them to a daycare or babysitter, as opposed to being home with them and squeezing in a little bit of work during the day, that wasn't stressful at all. And, when I have to weigh the two, there's just no comparison. That would have been so stressful to take them outside the home. If I would have had to, of course I would have had to. Sometimes there's not a choice in that. However, this to me didn't feel so stressful considering the other option. Yeah, but it definitely was sleepless nights.
Yeah, yeah. So, if someone's out there and really wants to get serious about thinking about this as a future career option for them, is there a certain kind of education or training that is needed to be successful? Is it just a matter of putting in hard work and hours to get better and good? What would you recommend?
Well, I think it depends on where you're at. I would say when I started, I looked into culinary classes, and we just don't have anything like that around here. They've come in, now they've come and gone. I can't say we've never had it, because we did have it a few years ago, and we just don't have it available very often. So culinary classes would be a wonderful jumpstart. However, it's not necessary at all. So really what you need is to just understand food and safety. I think that's really important, is to understand food and safety, the cleanliness of it all. First, be above anything else, I would say that. And so in today's day, now I'm going to really age myself here, Chelsea. In today's day, what do we get to do? Go on Google, right? We can Google anything and learn anything we want, So really, but in my day, I didn't even have a home computer. That was a huge expense. Google wasn't even out there yet. So
Right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's kind of what I've been noticing as I've been jumping online and trying to just research all the different possible flexible job opportunities for moms out there. I'm like, you know what? You can just jump on YouTube, watch a few videos,
Right.
and then you can figure this out and just have a little drive and hustle and just work hard and be consistent, and you can make just about anything happen if you want it bad enough. So that's kind of fun and exciting. It's kind of fun and exciting that this is an option that doesn't require a ton of education to do it.
It really doesn't. You can go, as I've trained a lot of people in the Valley here now. A lot of people came to me and said, hey, I'd like to do this. And I was so happy to train them. I had no problem with training them, because they said, I've watched YouTube video after YouTube video, but what you can't learn on YouTube is how to bake. You can learn recipes, and you can learn how to decorate like crazy. There's people out there that can decorate way beyond what I could do. Just watch enough YouTube. But they'd come to me for the things that you can't learn. And what I always told them is you just go home and you can find recipes. And then when you taste it, you tweak it until it's your recipe. And so there's some things but I agree, you don't have to have formal training. Just lots, yeah, hard work, practice. Don't be afraid to just practice, even if you're practicing on a placemat and then, scraping it off and washing it down, because you're just practicing for design, maybe in that, or having your family taste that new flavor of cake, which I did a lot, So you really don't have to have a formal education with it. You can just start it by having it be an interest of yours, doing cakes or pastries for your family and friends. And another thing, it's not really hard to start because you don't have to have everything at once. If you have a few baking pans
Mm-hmm.
and you have an oven, you can start really. And then as you earn money, you can add a few more things to your collection, which is really nice.
Yeah, that is nice. That's perfect. So if there is anything else that you would want to say or to some young women out there, or maybe even some women that are already moms that are looking for something and are really interested in baking, is there any last things you want to discuss or advice for them that can kind of help them get going?
Sure. I think that the biggest thing is just be willing to try new things. Be willing to, I know with me, I'll vanilla cake was my arch enemy through all the years because it was just a flavor that you have to have just so, and the texture. And so don't let one thing. I had one gal come to me and I helped train her, and she said, people just aren't liking my flavors. It seems like they're complaining about them. I said, just keep baking, just keep making them and try them out on people. Don't be afraid to just keep baking. And or if there's, whatever you're, putting your hand into, just keep moving forward with it, because it's amazing the networking we have today that we didn't have. So just keep moving forward and keep trying new things. Everybody has a talent, and just keep trying those things until you find what yours is. But I would say just bake, bake, bake.
Perfect. I love that. All right, well, that's fantastic. I think this was a perfect discussion about baking and how to get started. And thanks so much for joining us. And just so everyone knows, I will be chatting with Tia again because halfway through her life, she transitioned to a different career option. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about that as well. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.